we'll do addition. So words that mean addition, we already went over it a little bit, but sum plus increase by more than so all those mean I'm adding. So sum plus increase by more than, they all mean adding. The next one, we're going to do a subtraction. So subtraction would be like difference less minus decrease by. And these are your turnaround words. And so your two turnaround words, there's actually two, are subtract from and less than. So make sure to star those two phrases because those mean they're turnaround words. And I'll explain that right when we're done. All right, next one's multiply or multiplication. So product, that word of means multiply, times, twice, double. Those all mean multiplication. Division, we have quotient, ratio, divided by, into, half. The last two, the inequalities we're doing next period. Last one's equals. So things that mean equals could be is or are. Total, result, solution. They all mean equals. The last two will come back to in a little bit. So real quick, we're going to go into those turnaround words real quick. And so if you go to, I'm just going to write it on the bottom of here. And so the turnaround words, what they mean, so make sure to write this down, is you switch the order. So like if it says Miss K subtracts one phone from Kamari. Miss K subtracts one phone from Kamari. Who starts with the phone? Kamari starts with the phone, right? And I'm subtracting one phone from him, right? He starts with it. I subtract one phone, and now I have it. And so even though Miss K is first, this is Kamari. Even though they mentioned me first, if it says subtracts from or less than, you switch the order. And so if it was something like 10 subtracted from a number. If I did 10 subtracted from a number, I wouldn't do 10 minus x. I would start with my number, which is x, minus 10. That's why recognize a turnaround word because that's word subtract from. There's word subtract from means I'm going to switch the order. Same thing with less than. So 5 less than Miss T. So if I have 5 less than Miss T, I would start with Miss T minus 5. You guys see what I mean by turnaround words? So I don't do 5 minus T. I switch it around and it's T minus 5. You just have to think of it if you were to say, if I have 5 less than Miss T, I would have to take Miss T's, whatever she has, and subtract 5 from it. So those are your turnaround words. So now we're just going to practice just writing expressions. So we're going to this page, which actually is not on there. We're going to go to the next page that says translating words into expressions. So go to that translating words into expressions. Looks like, let's find it. Looks like this. Cool. Does everyone have this out? So the first thing we're just practicing with is just writing out the expression, not even solving anything, just writing it out. So let's practice. The sum of a number and 2. So sum means what? Addition. And so sum of a number, every time we use a number, you can just write x. The sum of a number and 2. That's my answer. So the sum means adding, so the sum of a number and 2 is x plus 2. The next one says a difference of a number and 2. What does difference mean? Subtraction. So it'd be a difference of a number and 2. Notice that this isn't a turnaround word. It doesn't say less than or subtract from, so I can write it just as it is, x minus 2. Twice the sum of a number and 5. So twice means times 2, right? It's twice this sum, and I know sum means adding, of a number and 5. So this is when it could get a little confusing because it's the twice the sum. So it's twice the adding portion of that expression. Then this one below says twice a number would just be like 2x, twice a number, or 2 times x. 5 times the sum of a number and 2. So it's 5 times, right, the sum. And when you see sum, you know you're going to put parentheses because it's the actual adding portion of it, of a number and 2. Last one, 1/2 of a number. So we can either write it x divided by 2, right, because that's half, or we can write it 1/2 x. Either one is exactly the same thing. So what we're getting to eventually is writing out the equation and solving it. So let's go to the next one. 2 less than a number. Uh-oh. I know that word less than is a turnaround word. That means that I'm going to put what comes last first because it's 2 less than a number. So I'm going to start with the number x, and it's 2 less than that. Do you see how that was a little bit different than the other one? So less than and subtract from are your turnaround words. 2 more than a number. So if I have my number right here, it's 2 more than that, so I know I'm adding 2. Five less than 2 times a number. Oh, we see that turnaround word, right? So I know that it's going to come second. So 5 less than, I know 5 is going to go in the back. 2 times a number. So it looks like that. So I'm just going through it once, and then you're going to just practice with expressions. 5 more than twice a number. So I know that I have twice a number, and if I have 5 more than that, it's plus 5. If you wrote it like this, 5 plus 2x, that's fine too, but because you know adding, it doesn't matter the order. So whichever you want to do. 5 less than the quotient of a number and 2. Uh-oh, you see that word less than, so we know it's a turnaround word, right? 5 less than it. And what does quotient mean? Division, quotient of a number and 2. So do you see how we're just breaking down the words we know and creating expressions? Last one, twice a number subtracted from, uh-oh, that's a turnaround word. So it's twice a number, goes right here, subtracted from 5. So the only 2 turnaround words are subtract from and less than. That making sense? Cool. So the next 2 pages are practice, and so what you're doing, if you go to the next 2 pages, you can work with a partner. And so there's all these right here, and all you're doing, it's matching. So you're figuring out for the next 2 pages, which letter goes with which one. The only thing is there's one that is, I need you to change real quick. And it's Q. Cross out Q right here and put X minus 9. So cross out Q on the first one, the very first one, and put X minus 9. So now all you're doing is you're figuring out which one goes where. So for example, I'll do just the first one, 4 more than a number. So I know I'm going to look for, okay, which one represents 4 more than a number? Which letter represents?
X plus 4.
X plus 4. Yay. So I'm going to check that I used it. And next to 4 more than number, I'm going to put X. So you're just matching. So you're going to try this on your own, and you can double check that you got it correct on here. And so I want you to practice with expressions first, then we're going to practice writing and solving equations. So if you want to work with a partner, you can. So this is your part of your classwork grade, remember those stamps and things like that. And the answer key is up there. So the next 2 pages are just matching. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. So we're going to give you around 15 minutes before we go on to the last part of what we're doing. So I'm going to give you 15 minutes. If you want to move and work with a partner, you can. Just make sure you know that it's a partner that you can work with. Cool. So the first one says the sum of twice a number and 5 is 21. So first of all, what does sum mean? Add. So right away, I know since it says sum, I'm going to be adding. So make sure you're doing it with me in case you didn't get it. The sum of twice a number. So I'm going to use X as my number. And what's twice that number? 2, right? 2 times X, or you could just write 2X. So it's the sum of twice a number, and the other number is 5. Is, what does is mean? Equals 21. So that was the first one. So we're just reading it, and as we read it, you're writing the equation. Then they want me to solve it. So this is what we've been doing with the equations for the last couple days. I want to get X by itself. What do I need to do first to get that annoying constant friend away? Subtract 5 from both sides. Beautiful. And when you do that, you end up getting 2X equals 16. Then what do? Perfect. Divide by 2. And you end up getting X equals 8. So my solution is X equals 8. So the only difference here between is the only thing is that we have to write out the equation. All right, next one. 10 subtracted from. Remember, that's a turnaround word. So that means like if I'm subtracting a phone from Keandra, she has it first, right? And so subtracted from, 10 subtracted from, it comes after like that. So subtracted from looks like that, minus 10. So I'm subtracting it from triple a number. How do I write triple? What does that mean? 3x. Beautiful. Has a solution, which is equals 28. So that was the second one. That's all. Some people had 10 minus 3x. Just make sure subtract from and less than are my two turnaround words. Then we just need to solve it. So it's like a two-step equation. First I draw my river. Then what do? Perfect. Add 10, that constant to both sides. And you end up getting 3x equals 38. Then what do? Perfect. What do you end up getting? You get a decimal. .666 or like 12.7. Perfect. So the only difference between what we did earlier, now we're reading it and we're doing the opposite. We're reading it and writing the equation. Last class, you read it and just matched it with the equation. All right, 6 added to half a number. So 6 added to, how do you say half a number? 1/2 x. Or it could be x divided by 2. Either or, you get the same answer. So half of x, or we could do 1/2 x. They're the same thing. And then is means what? Equals 12. So if you had this also, that's the same thing. So now I'm going to solve it. So I'm going to bring it down right here. I'm going to do the work right here, but I'm going to put x over 2 first. So what's the first thing I need to do to get x by itself? Not multiply first. That's only if they're all connected. So first thing, same as before, we get the constant to the other side. How do I get 6 to the other side? Yeah. So you end up getting x divided by 2 equals 6. Now what do? Multiply 2. So we know only if they were all attached to that 2 would I multiply first. You end up getting x equals 12. So up here, my solution, x equals 12. All right, last one, the product. What does product mean? What does product mean? Multiplying. So I know I'm multiplying of 8 and a number subtracted from 4. So if it's subtracted from 4, it's going to go in the back. From 4 is 44. So see how that one looks a little bit funky? So I have the product of 8 and a number, but I'm subtracting that from 4. And we know that subtract from is a turnaround word. And so now I can rewrite it. So I know the negative is next to 8x because that's one trig. Plus 4 equals 40. So now how do I get x by itself? Perfect. Subtract 4. You end up getting negative 8x equals 40. Then what do? Negative 5. Perfect. X equals negative 5 is my solution. So that's what we're starting with. The next part we're going to be doing is inequalities. So that's half of it. So it wasn't really anything new. And now we're going to go back to that front page that has your notes with adding, subtracting the very front of that packet. So flip your packet back over. And now we're going over inequalities. Go back here. Right here. So we already filled all this out. The last thing we're doing today is inequalities. And so these are going to be a little bit different because inequalities, I don't want you guys memorizing the inequalities. I want you guys to just figure out, okay, what would that mean in that situation? So basically what I mean, if I did less than or equal to, I'm going to start greater than or equal to this. And I know some words that mean greater than or equal to are at least, minimum, those are usually the main ones. So with greater than or equal to, at least, or minimum. So basically, if I said, like, I want to get at least a 90 on this next test, could I get an 80 and be happy? If I want to get at least a 90%, could I get an 80 and be happy? Could I get 100? Yeah, so I can get greater than or equal to. So that word at least, always just use like normal situations, right? So if you want to make at least $100, you need $100 or more. Minimum is also greater than or equal to, even though it doesn't sound like it. If you have to write an essay next door in your English class and it says a minimum of 500 words, could you do 200 words? No, because that's below the minimum. Could you do 1,000 words? Yes. So minimum, even though we think sometimes it's less than or equal to, is actually greater than or equal to. If it's x greater than, that one is usually like more than, is more than, is greater than. Higher than, taller than. So like greater than examples, like if you're going on a ride and you have to be taller than this line, you can't be up at that line, right? Or else you can't go on the ride. You have to be taller than it. So that's what I mean by greater than. Next one is less than or equal to, so I'll do that over here. And so that one is like at most and max, yeah. So like if your mom says you can have at most 3 friends over, could you invite, I always do the extremes, could you invite the entire Norcross High School? No. Could you have 1 friend? So that's why at most would be less than or equal to, because you could have 3 friends or less. So I don't want you memorizing these, I'd rather you just kind of make sense of it when would you say these things. And a max, like you can have a maximum of 5 friends over, you can't have more than that 5 friends over, you're going to get crowded. Less than would be like is less than, is smaller than, shorter. Those would all be less than. Just make sure you write those down. So next thing we're going to do is you are working with a group. That's why you guys are in groups right now. And besides the back group, your cards are in white, but everybody else has cards that are orange. Does everyone see it? Yours are on the ground. And so what you're doing with your group, it just has a bunch of different like scenarios. Like you must be taller than 48 inches to ride the roller coaster. So you're trying to figure out which situations go to which side. So for example, if I'm doing, so if I'm looking at this paper and I'm looking at x is greater than, does everyone have this paper? I would be looking for words that say like at least or a minimum. So basically I would look through these cards and figure out which ones would go with which side. So like I need 30 minutes or more to get ready in the morning. That would be an example, so I would write that down under this one. I need 30 minutes or more. Why? Because if you had 1 minute, always use extremes. If you have 1 minute to get ready, would you be able to get ready? If you need at least more than 30 minutes or 30 minutes? No. So you would need 30 or more minutes. So you know that would be x is greater than or equal to. So you're just, with your group, you guys can split up the cards if you want. You're putting them in whatever sign they go to. So like on your desk are the 3 signs or the 5 signs. And so you're putting them in which group they belong to. And then we're going to go over it. So see if you can try this on your own. and then we're gonna go over the answers. Does everyone get what you're doing? So you take your cards out, unclip the paper clip, and you can split them up along like a three. And you're just putting them in piles. So which one goes with which?